First contact and miscalculation. Supreme Commander Dravex stood motionless on the bridge of the Celestial Might, the pride of the Valkyrian Imperial fleet. His 8-foot frame cast a long shadow across the polished obsidian floor as he stared at the viewscreen. The blue-green planet rotating slowly before him looked unremarkable. According to the reports, the inhabitants called it Earth. Primitive species, Supreme Commander. Science Officer Tesla reported, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence as she reviewed the data. They've only achieved rudimentary space travel within their own system. Our initial scans show minimal orbital defenses and no evidence of faster-than-light capability. Dravex's facial ridges tightened in what passed for a smile among Valkyrians. Another world for the Empire's collection, then. Market for future integration. Low priority. The Valkyrian Empire had conquered 17 star systems over the past 3 centuries. Their technological superiority was unquestioned, their military might unmatched. Species either joined willingly or were subjugated. This was the natural order of things. Strange, Tesla murmured, her claws tapping rapidly on the console. Speak, Science Officer, Dravex commanded. Their communications are unusual. Highly encrypted, even by our standards, and they appear to be sending exploration vessels much farther than their technology should allow. Dravex dismissed her concerns with a wave of his armored hand. Probably automated probes. Many species developed those before true space travel. As you say, Supreme Commander, Tesla didn't sound convinced, but knew better than to contradict her superior. Send a scout vessel to monitor their activities. Dravex ordered. If they show any indication of expanding beyond their system, we may need to accelerate our timetable. 3 weeks later, Scout Commander Velex found himself face to face with what the humans called the Horizon, an Earth exploration vessel that had somehow ventured far beyond what Valkyrian intelligence had deemed possible. Impossible, Velex muttered to himself as his sensors confirmed the ship was crewed, not automated. How did they get out this far? The human vessel was small compared to Velex's scout ship, the Swift Claw. Its design was sleek but utilitarian, lacking the imposing aesthetics that Valkyrian ships were known for. Unidentified vessel. Velex transmitted on all frequencies. You have entered space claimed by the Valkyrian Empire. Identify yourself immediately or face destruction. The response came quickly, in perfect galactic standard. This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon. We are on a peaceful scientific mission, and were unaware this region was claimed. We apologize for any misunderstanding. Velex's mandibles clicked in surprise. They had translated Galactic Standard already. The scout commander felt a twinge of unease. Your presence is unauthorized. Prepare to be boarded for inspection, he commanded, following protocol for first contact with potentially useful species. I'm afraid we cannot allow boarding without proper diplomatic channels being established first, the human captain replied, her tone respectful but firm. We propose meeting at a neutral location to establish proper first contact protocols. Velex bristled at the refusal. No species denied the Valkyrians. It was unthinkable. You misunderstand, human. This is not a request, he transmitted, activating the Swift Claw's forward weapons array. You will comply or be disabled. A pause. Then, Scout Commander, we strongly advise against hostile action. We wish to establish peaceful relations. The human ship made no aggressive moves, which Velex interpreted as fear. He fired a warning shot, calibrated to pass close to the Horizon's hull, a standard intimidation tactic that had worked countless times before. What happened next would change the course of Valkyrian history. The human vessel didn't panic or attempt to flee. Instead, it executed a maneuver that should have been impossible for a ship of its size and design. The warning shot missed by a significant margin. Final warning, came Captain Rodriguez's voice, now cold. Stand down your weapons. Velex, furious at being defied by a supposedly primitive species, ordered a direct hit to the Horizon's propulsion system. enough to cripple but not destroy the vessel. The shots never reached their target. They simply vanished, absorbed by some kind of defensive field, unlike anything in Valkyrian technical databases. Defensive measures activated, the human captain said. Please stand down. Valek, now genuinely alarmed, ordered a full weapons barrage. His tactical officer complied immediately. The Swift Claw's advanced weapons, technology that had conquered multiple civilizations, struck the seemingly invisible barrier around the human ship and dissipated harmlessly. Then the Horizon responded. A single energy pulse, precise, controlled, and terrifyingly powerful, struck the Swift Claw's weapons array, disabling it completely without damaging any other systems. What was that? The tactical officer stammered. Before Valek could respond, the human captain's voice came through again. Your weapons have been neutralized. We have taken care to avoid casualties. This is not an act of war but self-defense. We request immediate dialogue with your superiors. Valek stared at the viewscreen in disbelief. His ship, one of the fastest and most advanced scout vessels in the Imperial fleet, had been effortlessly disabled by what the humans claimed was merely an exploration vessel. Supreme Commander, Valek reported, his voice unsteady as he transmitted directly to the Celestial Might. We have encountered humans. They disabled our weapons with technology we cannot identify. They're requesting dialogue. Supreme Commander Dravex received the report with growing horror. The scout ship's sensor logs confirmed Valek's account. The human ship had neutralized Imperial weapons technology with surgical precision. How? He demanded of his science officer. How could a pre-FTL civilization possess such technology? Tesla reviewed the data multiple times before responding. They're not pre-FTL, Commander. We were wrong. Very wrong. Their ship employs some form of drive technology our sensors couldn't initially recognize, and their defensive systems, they're unlike anything we've encountered. A trick, Dravex insisted. Some anomaly. No, Commander, Tesla replied, her voice hollow. The evidence is clear. We have severely underestimated human technological advancement. If this is merely their exploration vessel, she didn't need to finish the thought. If this was what humans sent to explore, what had they built for war? Dravex made his decision quickly. Send the battle cruiser Imperial Wrath to their location. Show these humans what true Valkyrian military might looks like. The Imperial Wrath, under the command of Battle Master Krex, arrived at the coordinates 12 hours later. The human vessel Horizon remained in position, having made no hostile moves since disabling the scout ship's weapons. Pathetic, Krex sneered as he viewed the human ship. The Imperial Wrath was 20 times its size, bristling with weapon emplacements, and protected by the most advanced shield technology in the known galaxy. They disabled a scout ship and think they can challenge the Empire. Human vessel, he transmitted. This is Battle Master Krex of the Imperial battle cruiser Imperial Wrath. You have attacked a Valkyrian Imperial vessel. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Battlemaster, came the measured response from Captain Rodriguez. We acted in self-defense after multiple warnings. We seek peaceful resolution. Krex laughed, the sound echoing around his bridge. You will learn the price of defiance. All weapons target their vessel. The Imperial Wrath unleashed its full arsenal against the tiny human ship. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and graviton pulses, enough firepower to reduce a small moon to rubble. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as every single attack was either absorbed or deflected by the human vessel's defensive systems. Not a scratch appeared on its hull. Impossible, Krex whispered. Then the Horizon moved, not in retreat, but advancing directly toward the massive battle cruiser. Its speed was incredible, its maneuvers defying the laws of physics as understood by Valkyrian science. Evasive action, Krex ordered, but it was too late. The human ship fired, not a barrage, but 3 precisely targeted energy beams. The first struck the Imperial Wrath's primary weapons control, shutting it down instantly. The second disabled the propulsion system. The third cut power to the shields. In less than 10 seconds, the pride of the Valkyrian fleet was floating helpless in space, defeated by a ship a fraction of its size. "This is Captain Rodriguez. Your vessel has been neutralized without casualties. We invite you to communicate peacefully. This conflict benefits neither of our species." Krex, his pride shattered along with his ship's systems, had no choice but to comply. On the Celestial Might, Supreme Commander Dravex received the battle logs with growing dread. His finest battle cruiser, rendered helpless in seconds, it was unthinkable. "Emergency transmission to Imperial High Command," he ordered. "Subject: Human Threat Assessment. Priority: Maximum." The transmission was brief but devastating. "Humans possess technology far beyond our initial assessment. Scout vessel and battle cruiser both neutralized with minimal effort. Their exploration vessel demonstrated defensive and offensive capabilities exceeding our most advanced warships. Requesting immediate council meeting to reassess human integration strategy. Recommend extreme caution." In the Imperial Palace on Valkyria Prime, Emperor Zorthal received the report personally. For the first time in his 300-year reign, he felt fear. "Convene the Imperial Council," he commanded. "All members, immediately." The 17 lords of the Valkyrian Empire gathered in the Great Hall, their usual confidence replaced by uncertainty. The recorded footage of the Imperial Wrath's defeat played on massive screens, eliciting gasps of disbelief. "If this is what their explorers can do," asked Lord Vaznik of the 7th System, "what are their warships capable of?" The question hung in the air, unanswered and terrifying. "We have conquered all we have encountered for 3 centuries, Emperor Zorthal finally spoke. "Our technological superiority has been absolute. Until now." He rose from his obsidian throne, his ancient frame still imposing despite his age. "We face a choice, my lords. Do we attempt to subjugate these humans, risking everything we have built? Or do we approach them as equals, something we have never done before?" The silence that followed was deafening. The Valkyrian Empire stood at a crossroads, and for the first time in its history, conquest might not be the answer. "They request dialogue," the Emperor continued. "Perhaps, just this once, we should listen. The demonstration and new galactic order." The diplomatic vessel Voice of Valkyria approached the designated meeting coordinates with extreme caution. Inside, Ambassador Ms. Tora reviewed her instructions for the 100th time. As the Empire's most skilled negotiator, she had resolved countless conflicts, but never had she faced a situation this dire. "Remember," Supreme Commander Dravex had told her before departure, "learn everything you can about their capabilities. The future of the Empire depends on it." Beside her sat Science Minister Ralvik, whose 6-fingered hands nervously adjusted his ceremonial robes. "Do you think they'll bring one of their warships?" he asked, unable to hide the tremor in his voice. "If what we've seen is merely their exploration technology, I'm not sure I want to see their military vessels," Ms. Tora replied grimly. The meeting location was a previously uncharted space station that had appeared seemingly overnight. Initial scans suggested it was human in design, though none of the Valkyrian sensors could penetrate its outer hull to determine its internal structure. "Ambassador, we're receiving a transmission," the communications officer reported. A holographic display activated, showing a human female with dark skin and silver-streaked hair tied back severely. She wore a simple blue uniform with minimal insignia. "Greetings, Voice of Valkyria. I am Admiral Sophia Washington of the United Earth Defense Force. Welcome to Neutral Ground Station. Please proceed to Docking Bay 3 where our delegation will meet you." The transmission ended before Ms. Tora could respond, which she found both unusual and slightly unsettling. In Valkyrian diplomatic protocol, the responding party always had the opportunity to acknowledge instructions. "They're direct," she observed to Ralvik. "They don't fear us," he replied. "They have no reason to." The voice of Valkyria docked without incident. When the airlock opened, Ms. Tora was surprised to find only 3 humans waiting to greet her party of 12. Admiral Washington stood in the center, flanked by a gray-haired male in a different uniform and a younger female in what appeared to be civilian attire. "Ambassador Ms. Tora," Washington said, offering the traditional Valkyrian greeting gesture, palms forward, fingers splayed. The perfect execution of the gesture sent a clear message. They had studied Valkyrian culture thoroughly. "Admiral Washington," Ms. Tora responded, inclining her head slightly. "Thank you for arranging this meeting. This is General Marcus Chen, head of our Technological Development Division." Washington indicated the male, and Dr. Amara Okafor, our xenoanthropology expert. Ms. Tora introduced her delegation, which included military advisors, scientists, and cultural experts. The formalities complete, they proceeded to a large conference room where refreshments suitable for both species had been arranged. "Let's address the immediate concern," Admiral Washington began once everyone was seated. "The incidents with your scout ship and battle cruiser. Unprovoked attacks on Imperial vessels," interjected military advisor Kreslak, unable to contain himself. Washington's expression remained neutral. "Our logs indicate your vessels fired first in both encounters, despite clear communication from Captain Rodriguez requesting peaceful interaction." Before Kreslak could argue further, Ms. Tora raised her hand for silence. "Perhaps we could view the full records from both sides to establish a common understanding of events." Washington nodded, and General Chen activated a holographic display showing the encounters from multiple perspectives, including internal ship logs from both human and Valkyrian vessels. The evidence was irrefutable. The Valkyrian ships had indeed been the aggressors, and the human responses had been measured and non-lethal. "You could have destroyed our ships," Science Minister Ralvik observed quietly. "Why didn't you?" Dr. Okafor spoke for the first time, her voice gentle but firm. "That's not who we are, Minister. Humanity has a complex history filled with both conflict and cooperation. We've learned through painful experience that destruction is rarely the answer. Yet your technology is clearly designed for war," countered Kreslak. "For defense," General Chen corrected. "There's a distinction. We developed in a solar system with frequent asteroid threats and unpredictable stellar phenomena. Our earliest space technologies were designed to protect our planet, not conquer others." Ms. Tora found this difficult to believe. "All species develop through conquest. It is the natural order." Admiral Washington shook her head. "That's a cultural belief, Ambassador, not a universal truth. Humanity has indeed fought wars among ourselves, but our greatest achievements came through collaboration, not conquest." The discussion continued for hours, covering historical, technological, and philosophical topics. The humans were forthcoming about their history, but carefully vague about the full extent of their technological capabilities, a fact not lost on Ms. Tora. "You've been generous with information," she finally said, "but I must ask directly, what are your intentions toward the Valkyrian Empire?" "We have no hostile intentions," Washington replied immediately. "We seek knowledge, understanding, and peaceful coexistence. However," her tone hardened slightly, "we will defend ourselves if threatened." "The Empire has existed for millennia through strength," Ms. Tora explained. "Our people and our council will want assurances that your species does not pose a threat to our sovereignty." Washington considered this, then glanced at her colleagues. After a brief, silent exchange, she nodded. "We anticipated this concern. With your permission, we would like to offer a demonstration." Science Minister Ralvik tensed visibly. "What kind of demonstration?" "A controlled display of one of our standard defense vessels. Not a warship," Washington clarified, "but something that will help you understand our capabilities and, more importantly, our approach to space travel and security." Ms. Tora consulted briefly with her team before agreeing. The humans led them to an observation deck overlooking a vast empty space beyond the station. "The UES Guardian will be arriving momentarily," General Chen announced, activating a holographic display showing technical specifications of the approaching vessel. Ralvik studied the specifications with growing disbelief. These energy readings can't be correct. No ship this size could generate such power. I assure you, the readings are accurate, Chen replied calmly. A flash of light announced the arrival of the human vessel. The Guardian was larger than the Horizon, but still significantly smaller than the Valkyrian battle cruiser it had defeated. Its design was elegantly functional, with smooth lines and no visible weapons emplacements. The Guardian is classified as a system defense vessel, Washington explained. It's tasked with patrolling Earth's solar system and responding to potential threats. It represents approximately mid-tier technology in our defense fleet. Where are its weapons? Kreslak demanded, scanning the vessel's exterior. Integrated into the hull design, General Chen explained. We don't believe in intimidation through visual display. What followed was a demonstration that would forever change the Valkyrian understanding of warfare. The Guardian performed maneuvers that defied Valkyrian physics, generating internal gravitational fields that allowed it to change direction instantaneously without subjecting its crew to lethal forces. Its defensive systems effortlessly deflected energy weapons fired by automated target drones, sometimes redirecting the energy back to its source with pinpoint accuracy. Most impressive was its propulsion system, which created localized space-time distortions that allowed for speeds previously thought impossible. The technology you're witnessing, Washington explained as the Valkyrians watched in stunned silence, was developed over centuries of scientific exploration, not for conquest, but for protection and discovery. When the demonstration concluded, Ms. Tora found herself speechless. The implications were clear. The Valkyrian Empire, for all its might, was hopelessly outmatched by human technology. One final demonstration, Washington said, gesturing toward a distant asteroid field, to illustrate our commitment to precision and life preservation. The Guardian fired a single energy pulse into the asteroid field. Instead of causing destruction, the pulse seemed to envelop a specific asteroid in a containment field, then systematically disassembled it into its component materials, which were collected and stored by small automated drones. Resource gathering, Dr. Okafor explained. We don't believe in destroying what can be repurposed. This technology allows us to obtain materials without devastating planetary systems. The return journey to Valkyria Prime was somber. Ambassador Ms. Tora prepared her report with care, knowing its contents would shake the Empire to its foundations. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Zorthal received her in private, dismissing even his personal guards as she recounted what she had witnessed. They could destroy us, she concluded, not just defeat us, erase us completely. And yet they seek dialogue, cooperation. The ancient emperor closed his four eyes briefly, absorbing the implications. 3 centuries of expansion, 17 systems under our rule, all based on the belief that might makes right, he mused. And now we encounter a species that renders our might insignificant. What shall I tell the council, Your Majesty? Emperor Zorthal rose from his throne and moved to the window overlooking the capital city, its spires gleaming in the light of 3 moons. The truth, Ambassador, that we have encountered our betters, that the age of Valkyrian expansion through force is over. The Imperial Council meeting the following day was unlike any in recorded history. Traditionally a forum for planning conquests and resource allocation, it instead became a desperate strategy session for survival. We must strike first, Lord Drazek of the Third System bellowed. Gather the entire fleet and attack their homeworld before they can mobilize. Did you not hear the ambassador's report? Countered Lord Mevlin of the 11th System. Their mid-tier defense vessel outclasses our most advanced warships. A direct conflict would be suicide. The debate raged for hours until Emperor Zorthal finally raised his hand for silence. For a millennium, the Valkyrian Empire has expanded through strength, he began, his voice carrying the weight of ages. We have conquered because we could, subjugated because it was easy. We believe this was the natural order. He activated a holographic display showing the human demonstration. The council members watched again as the Guardian performed feats their best scientists had deemed impossible. But now we face a choice, the Emperor continued. Continue as we have and face certain destruction, or adapt, evolve, into something new. What are you suggesting, Your Majesty? Asked Lady Zephnia, the youngest council member. I am suggesting, my lords and ladies, that perhaps conquest is not the only path to greatness. These humans have achieved technological wonders not through subjugation of others, but through cooperation and scientific inquiry. Perhaps there are lessons we can learn. The silence that followed was profound. For many in the room, the concept of advancement without conquest was alien, almost heretical. Are you proposing an alliance with these humans? Lord Drazek finally asked, his voice heavy with disbelief. I am proposing survival, the Emperor replied simply. And perhaps in time, something more. A new understanding of our place in the galaxy. 1 week later, Ambassador Ms. Torres sat across from Admiral Washington on the neutral station once more. This time, she brought not threats or demands, but a proposal. The Valkyrian Empire extends formal recognition to Earth and its colonies as sovereign territory. She began, reading from the carefully prepared statement. We propose a treaty of non-aggression, cultural exchange, and limited technological collaboration. Washington's expression remained neutral, but her eyes showed a glimmer of approval. And the 17 systems currently under Valkyrian control. Ms. Tora hesitated only briefly. This had been the most contentious point among the council. The Empire will begin a process of transitional governance, working toward self-determination for those worlds that desire it. We acknowledge that our methods of integration have not always been just. It was perhaps the first such admission in imperial history. Humanity accepts these terms in principle, Washington replied. We believe this marks the beginning of a new era, not just for our species, but for all intelligent life in this sector of the galaxy. As the formal documents were prepared, Dr. Okafor approached Ms. Tora privately. You know, she said conversationally, in human history, the greatest empires weren't always those that conquered the most territory. No, Ms. Tora was genuinely curious. No, the truly great ones were those that adapted, that turned enemies into allies, that built networks of cultural and intellectual exchange. The ones that understood power comes in many forms. Ms. Tora considered this. It will not be an easy transition for my people. Conquest is woven into our history, our identity. Change never is easy, Okafor agreed, but consider the alternative. Later, as the voice of Valkyria prepared to depart, Admiral Washington made a final observation to the ambassador. You know, we could have simply avoided your territory after the initial encounters, continued our exploration in other directions. Why didn't you? Ms. Tora asked. Washington smiled slightly. Because humanity learned long ago that avoidance doesn't solve problems, and because we believe there's much our species could learn from each other. As the Valkyrian diplomatic vessel departed, Emperor Zorthel received the signed treaty with mixed emotions. The document represented both defeat and opportunity, the end of one era and the potential beginning of another. Your Majesty, his advisor ventured cautiously. The military commanders are concerned. They fear this treaty shows weakness. The ancient emperor turned his gaze to the stars visible through the palace's crystal dome. Tell them this, advisor. For 3 centuries, we conquered because we were strong. Today, we make peace because we are wise. And in time, they will understand that wisdom is the greater power. Across the galaxy, word spread quickly. The mighty Valkyrian Empire, conqueror of 17 systems, had met its match in humanity. But rather than ending in destruction, the encounter had sparked something unprecedented. A partnership of equals, built on mutual respect rather than dominance and submission. It was a new model for galactic relations, one that would reshape the destiny of countless species for generations to come. And it had begun with a single human exploration vessel that refused to be intimidated, a small ship that carried not just a crew, but an idea that the greatest power isn't the ability to destroy, but the wisdom to choose not to.